It started with a set of rules. We all have them, don't we? We build these invisible fences around our hearts to keep the mess out. I had my list and you didn't fit any of it. You were supposed to be a maybe. You were supposed to be a for now. You were definitely supposed to be a just friend, a just classmate, a just person I talked to when the day felt too long. I told myself that I was too busy for this. I told myself that my life was already full, that I had goals and plans that didn't include the distraction of another person's heartbeat. I was so sure of my walls. I thought they were made of stone. Love doesn't always knock on the front door. Sometimes, it just seeps in through the cracks like water. Before I knew it, I was drowning in a feeling I never gave permission to exist. At first, it was easy to stay detached. I treated our conversations like they were just words. We talked about the weather, the work, the things we hated. I kept my guard up. I made sure never to look at you for too long. I made sure to laugh just enough, but not so much that you'd think I was hooked. I was so proud of how chill I was, though I was in control. I looked at you and saw a person, not a destination. I saw someone who was fun to be around, but someone I could walk away from without looking back. That was the plan. That was the supposed to. But then the ordinary started to feel different. I noticed the way you said my name. Not like everyone else does, but with a tiny bit of extra weight, like you were holding it carefully. I noticed the way you remembered my favorite color of thread, the way I like my coffee, and the exact reason why I don't like certain songs. Slowly, the safe distance started to shrink. I found myself leaning in when you spoke. I found myself staying a little longer than I needed to. I started making excuses to see you, telling myself it was just because I was in the area. I was lying to myself, and I was getting really good at it. This is where the cognitive dissonance happens. My brain was still saying no. It was still repeating the rules. We are just friends. This isn't permanent. Don't get attached. Remember what happened last time. But my heart was already saying yes. It was a constant war inside my chest. Every time we hung out, I would go home and try to convince myself that I didn't feel anything. I would list all the reasons why we wouldn't work. I would tell myself that you weren't my type. I would try to find things about you that annoyed me, just so I could have a reason to pull away. But the more I tried to find reasons to leave, the more reasons I found to stay. I wasn't supposed to care if you texted back. I wasn't supposed to wonder who you were with when you were quiet. I wasn't supposed to feel that tiny, sharp pang of jealousy when someone else made you laugh. But I did, every single time. I was failing my own test. I was breaking my own heart before it was even yours. There wasn't a big, dramatic moment. It wasn't like a movie where the music swells and the rain starts falling. It was much quieter than that. Maybe it was the way you looked at me when I was talking about something boring, and I realized you were actually listening. Not just waiting for your turn to speak, but really hearing me. Or maybe it was the way you stood up for me when I wasn't even in the room. Suddenly, the fence wasn't there anymore. I looked at you and I didn't see a maybe. I saw a must. I realized that I didn't want to go back to the version of my life where you were just a background character. I wanted you in the center of the frame. I realized that I was in love with you. The scariest part wasn't the love itself. It was the fact that I hadn't planned for it. I didn't have a map for this. I didn't have a backup plan for what happens when you fall for the person you were supposed to keep at arm's length. Falling in love when you weren't supposed to feels like a betrayal of yourself. You feel like you've lost the game. You feel vulnerable in a way that is terrifying because if you didn't mean for this to happen, how can you be sure you can handle it? I started asking myself questions. What if I'm the only one who fell? What if I broke my rules for someone who is still following theirs? What if I'm just another maybe to you while you've become my everything? The silence between us started to feel heavy. Every effortless conversation now felt like a minefield. I was so afraid of saying the wrong thing and scaring you away. I was so afraid that if I showed you how much I cared, the easy part of us would disappear. Love is not easy. It's messy. It's inconvenient. It ruins your plans and messes up your schedules. It makes you stay up late and wake up tired. It makes you care about things you never cared about before. I finally had to stop fighting it. I had to sit in a room by myself and say it out loud. I am in love with you. Once I said it, the air felt different. The cognitive dissonance stopped. I didn't have to lie to myself anymore. I didn't have to pretend that I wasn't looking for you in every room. I didn't have to pretend that I didn't care. Yes, I wasn't supposed to fall in love with you. I was supposed to be smart. I was supposed to be careful. I was supposed to protect myself. But being smart felt lonely. Being careful felt like I was holding my breath, and protecting myself just meant I was building a prison instead of a home. So I let the rules go. I stepped over the broken fence. I decided that the risk of being hurt was better than the safety of being empty. I decided that even if I wasn't supposed to love you, the fact that I did was the most honest thing about me. Now I look at you and I don't feel the need to hide. I don't feel the need to be chill. If I love you, I'm going to love you loudly. If I care, I'm going to show it. I've realized that the supposed to part of life is mostly just fear wearing a suit. It's the voice in our head that tells us to play it safe so we don't get embarrassed. Love isn't about safety. It's about being brave enough to be seen. I wasn't supposed to fall in love with you. My life was fine without you. I was doing okay on my own. I had my routine, my peace, and my walls. But then you happened. Okay wasn't enough anymore. I didn't want a routine. I wanted a life with you in it. I didn't want a wall. I wanted a window so I could see you coming. I fell in love with you. It wasn't a choice, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Even if it breaks me, even if the rules were right and I end up with a scar, I wouldn't change a single second of it. A life lived by the rules is just a life half lived. Loving you, even when I wasn't supposed to, is the only thing that makes me feel truly alive.